Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back.
Morning to you.
Hi, good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You made it through the rain.
Yeah. No choice.
I know.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, good. Oof. I don't know if I'm cold or hot today.
That's not a good thing.
How was your weekend?
It's good, how's yours?
It was uneven.
Okay. Yeah, that's always good.
on my stand. Fine. In a few minutes, talking.
We're the two people that are on, you're one of them. Who's the other?
I think it's, it lists you as, I think it's a KW Westside.
Oh, okay.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am fantastic. Do you know how many of these we've recorded so far? It's like 3 or 4, I think. And this will be either 4 or 5. Not 100%.
This will be number 5.
This will be 5. Okay. After this is over, can you send me the last 3, including this,
Yeah, I can,
the video? So
I think I can do it from here, or from
wherever,
Okay.
just whenever after this was done.
the
It'll take
last.
the last 3, I believe. So I think I already have the last 2, the first 2. I don't think that last 3 says here. Oh. Yakov is here. Who are those 2 people over there? Move around everybody up. Closing the deal. Let's just start and they'll, can't wait for everybody. This will be recorded. They can come back and check it out. So,
Start with video.
start the video, yeah.
Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to Philosopher's Notes TV. Today we've got another great book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Extreme Ownership, subtitle, How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win. Jocko and Leif were 2 of the most senior SEALs on the ground in Iraq in the most challenging parts of the Iraq conflict. Extraordinary human beings and leaders who, as the subtitle suggests, bring their SEAL wisdom into our lives to help us cultivate our leadership and overall optimizing and actualizing abilities. We've got a philosopher's note, a bunch of big ideas. We got 5 of them here. Let's start with big idea number 1. What does it mean to take extreme ownership? It's a very powerful, very simple concept. Here's the deal. Own every single thing in your life. Here's the equation you can use to know whether you have extreme ownership. You want to take 100% responsibility and have 0% blame. If you are blaming 1%, 5%, 10%, 50%, 100%, you are not being in an extreme ownership position. So check in. What's your ratio? You got 100% 0. If so, you are among the most elite possible performers on the planet. Good luck getting to 100% every single moment of every single day, but that's our standard. Figure out how much blaming you are doing in your life and quit doing that. Take 100% responsibility for every single thing in your life. Which brings us to big idea number 2 here. There are no bad teams. I think this is the 2nd chapter. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. No bad teams, bad leaders. They bring this point home via a cool story, a powerful story from Hell Week. SEAL training, obviously ridiculous. Hell Week is the most intense part of it. And during that time, they separate into boat crews, right? So imagine a crew, I think it's 6 guys, maybe it's 8, that have to do crazy stuff, right? It's a World War II era boat, 200 pounds. They've got to pick it up, run with it on top of their heads over 20-foot sandberms, miles and miles at a time. They got to row, paddle it out into the ocean, dump it out over, hop out, then get back in, then paddle back and beat every other team, or they have to do extra bonus hard stuff. It pays to be a winner, is what the officers who are running the show would say to these guys, right? You didn't want to lose. But they tell the story that one of the boat crews was winning every single time, boat crew 2, right? And then boat crew 6 was losing every single time. And I should mention that each of the boat crews had a leader. The most senior guy was leading the crew. And they had to get the instructions, which were complicated, right? And then take them to their team and get them to do what they needed to do. Boat crew 2 was crushing it, and they actually had a pretty positive attitude considering what they were going through. Boat crew 6, bickering, all, whatever, getting at each other, etc. The leader of boat crew 6 was convinced that the leader of boat crew 2 just got lucky, that he had a great team, and that his team just kind of sucked. And then the commanding officer said, you know what? Boat crew 2, boat crew 6, leaders come up. I want you to switch, right? So suddenly you've got the leader of boat crew 2, which was crushing it, leading boat crew 6, which was losing every single time. And then this guy goes over here. Then what happens? Boat crew 6 that couldn't win ever is suddenly dominated. They're winning every single time. Now this boat crew was good too because they had a culture that was created, right? But this crew went from being the worst to being first. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. This leader was blaming and blaming and blaming, whereas the other guy took 100% responsibility, said, okay, look, this is what I got to do. Let's go do what needs to get done. Remember, no bad teams, only bad leaders. If you're complaining about your team or you're complaining about your family or any organization you're part of, step up into a leadership position, take 100% ownership, extreme ownership, and make it better. Third big idea. To do that, to be an effective leader, you need to be a true believer. Jocko and Leif tell us that if you don't believe, if you don't have a resolute conviction in the power of whatever mission you're on, you're not going to be able to lead, period. And if you aren't a true believer, get yourself to a point where you can be a true believer. We talk about this in the context of hope a lot. That idea of if you don't believe that your future is going to be better than your present, you're not going to be engaged. If a leader, the research shows, isn't creating hope, right, that they're going to be able to achieve something great, then only 1% of his team will be engaged or her team will be engaged. If there's hope, 69% will be engaged. That's crazy. If you don't have belief in what you're doing, you're not going to motivate yourself, you're not going to motivate others. This is also the first part of our motivation equation, which we haven't talked about in a while. Motivation equals expectancy times value over impulsivity times delay. Expectancy. You have to believe that you can achieve something if you want to be motivated. If you don't believe you're going to achieve something, what are you going to do? You're going to procrastinate. You're not going to go all in. You're not going to do what it takes. You're certainly not going to take extreme ownership. So check in on whatever it is that you're doing. Do you really believe you can do it? If you can't, make it so you can, either by getting more capacity to achieve your goal or bringing it back a little bit so it's more doable for you. Challenging and doable. Fourth big idea is what to do when you feel overwhelmed. So the SEALs and war is such a powerful metaphor for life because the fog of war, there is chaos. It's easy to get overwhelmed. And great leaders are able to simplify the battlefield. They're able to prioritize what's most important and then execute that. Rather than spin around in all the possible things they can do, they systematically say, what's the number one thing I need to do right now? What's the thing that needs to happen next for this mission to be a success? If you can't prioritize, you're just going to stay overwhelmed. Then when you've identified the number one thing, you knock that domino over. You prioritize and you execute. Anything other than that number one thing is a distraction. We talk about this all the time. I journal every morning. I write down my number one thing and I draw that to identify the number one goal. So for you, what's your number one thing? Write it down, know what it is, prioritize it. Notice that anything other than that is a distraction, right? Of course, you're going to do other things in your life, but as you're targeting that goal in your professional creative time, focus on that. Be creative before you're reactive. Don't hop online first thing in the morning. Identify, prioritize, and execute what you've determined is the most important. This is huge, particularly if you're feeling overwhelmed. Most people don't want to take extreme ownership. They don't want to be 100% responsible for this number one thing. It's a lot easier to diffuse your attention, right, than it is to say, I'm going all in on this and I'm going to make it happen. But that's what leaders do. Take extreme ownership of what's important and they make it happen. Last big idea rather, is 3 alarms. I think this is a story from Jocko, who says that he has 3 alarms to wake him up in the morning. An electronic one, a battery-powered alarm, and then a wind-up alarm. 3 alarms that he learned from one of the most intense leaders that he had, right? He was not going to fail to get up on time to do whatever it was he had to do. He took extreme ownership of it and had 3 alarms to make sure that he hit what needed to get done. And he said that, look, when your alarm goes off in the morning, if you're waking up from an alarm, that's your first test of the day. And you're either going to pass that test or you're going to fail the test. It's a very simple one, but it's a pivotal moment, really, in your day. Did you get up and do what you said you're going to do or not? You want to demonstrate extreme ownership such that you can experience the fact that discipline, this is from a chapter on discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. When we can get ourselves to do what we need to do, when we need to do it, we experience freedom. This is a choice we make moment to moment to moment to moment. We call it arete in these talks all the time. Every single moment, we're basically looking at a test. We're either going to take 100% responsibility for what we're capable of being in that moment or not. And the exciting thing is that when you actually discipline yourself, you have the freedom to respond creatively. In the context of war, when they have their basic fundamentals nailed and everything goes wrong, which is pretty much how it's always going to go, not according to plan, certainly not 100% according to plan, when you have the discipline that you've inculcated by practicing and rehearsing, et cetera, before the event, and then you know what to do in these situations, you have freedom to respond with more creativity. But if you're not eating, to go back to our fundamentals we talk about all the time, if you're not eating well, if you're not moving consistently, and if you're not sleeping consistently, those basic fundamentals are not in place, there's no possible way you're going to experience the freedom of truly expressing your highest self. Discipline equals freedom. 3 alarm clocks. Remember Jocko and his commitment. Prioritize when you're feeling overwhelmed and execute. Anything other than that number one is a distraction. True believers are what it takes to be true leaders Remember, you've got to have that belief that you're creating something great if you want motivation of 1% versus 69%. There are no bad teams, no bad families, no bad groups, only bad leaders. Step up, be an extreme ownership-based leader by owning everything. Check in on how much you're blaming. See if you can get that down to 0%. Own everything. Extreme ownership. Thank you, Jocko and Leif, for the great book and for your service and all you do. Appreciate it. What was your favorite big idea? What jumped out and landed, reminded you of something you already knew? It's now a good time to embody that and live it. Get on it. Look forward to sharing more. Have another awesome day. See you.
What do you guys think? It's one of my top 5 books for everybody in 2024. It's one of my top 5 books of all time. They have another one called A Dichotomy of Leadership, which I'm going to be reading this year, which I just think is amazing. But a lot of this plays into the 3 steps to get your business to where you need it to go. And the thing that I try to embody is really 100% ownership of everything. Like, that's why I liked it, because it taught this book. I read it 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, long time ago. It just taught me to take responsibility for everything. And I read a couple of books that had this type of mindset. And the mindset for me is if you're not where you want to be, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, because you're exactly where your decisions and everything in your life have brought you. So if you don't like where you want to be, then you have to start making different decisions every day. If you are happy where you want to be and you want to go someplace different, you have to start making different decisions, because what got you where you're at today is not going to get you there unless you just want to be in the same place. And I know very few people that are just super happy and just want to be in the same place. You kind of have to grow. That's just the way life works. So you have to take responsibility, even if it's bad things that happen to you, good things that happen to you. In my mind, I believe you have to appreciate everything that's happened in your past, even the bad stuff, because that's made you who you are today. And you have to take ownership of it. And every decision, everything that's happened to you in the past, whether it's good or bad, like a decision that you made puts you in whatever situation or wherever you're at, that puts you where you're at today. So you have to take 100% ownership. Sometimes it's not fun. Like, I've made mistakes and I'm like, I have to own it. Like, that's my fault. I gotta take responsibility. You have to take responsibility. I tend to be a little extreme about it. When it comes to the 3 alarms, I just want to bring this up. I have 3 alarms as well. My alarm is my wife, and then Boston Terriers. Terriers times 2. So like in the morning, my wife has an alarm. I think she's on here. And then I have 2 Boston Terriers that, their alarms are not consistent. They wake up randomly whenever they want to. And I usually wake up with them, but then I usually go back to bed, and that's when my wife alarm comes. But that's just being funny. Does everybody have any questions about the ownership part of it? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like, where you're at, that's kind of like your responsibility. The true believer part, like I say ownership, whose fault is it? Like, it's your fault. When somebody goes, whose fault is it? It's my fault. Like, even though like I have a team of people here, I have 200 agents in this office. When something happens in this office, it's my fault, regardless. It all falls back on me. And so I just take ownership of that. When it comes to true believer, what do you believe in? Like, what do you believe? Do you believe in yourself? And a lot of us, like, I have a lot of agents that come in here and they want me to believe in them. They tell me all these things to get me to believe in them. But in reality, they don't believe in themselves. And one of my favorite things that I say, I don't know where I got this from, I certainly did not make it up, is there's thousands of people in your life that are not going to believe in you, and you shouldn't be one of those people. And I really, really believe that you have to, if you want other people to believe in you, you have to believe in yourself first. So that's one of the things that I think is very, very, very powerful. Like, who are you going to blame and what excuses are you going to make for you not getting where you need to get to today? And so let's say your goal is $100,000 in the next 12 months, or an extra $100,000 if you've already made 100,000, right? So let's just put 100,000 in the next 12 months, regardless of where you're at. Why aren't you there? And what are you going to do to get there? Having an excuse of why you're not getting there actually dials back to all the way, and what are you doing today? What are the steps that you have to take today to get to that point. So I would argue that your steps to take today is 25 contacts. 25 contacts today, real estate contacts. You have a conversation and you try to have a real estate conversation with 25 different people. You can do that in whatever way works for you, as long as you connect with somebody and you actually have a conversation. I say that you can have 25 contacts if it's a personal conversation, but if it's a text, email, Facebook, or anything other than an actual physical conversation, that it has to be real estate related. So if you did not get the 25 contacts, whose fault is that? And why didn't you do it? So it comes back to taking responsibility for everything. And what's the goal? One listing, one buyer contract signed. So this whole thing was kind of inspired by another agent, that a newer agent that joined our office. And it comes back to reasons or results. If you did not get your 25 contacts, if you did not get one buyer listing, one seller listing, why did that happen? So you can have reasons, you can have results. So you get to choose, because it comes back to, what are you willing to do? I would challenge anybody, if you wanted to get one listing, that if you started right when you woke up and that's the only thing you focused on, there would be a way to do that. I had an agent who joined the office, and there was a reason and an excuse for everything that happened, because the willingness part is basically, are you willing to do anything you need to do to get what you want? Or are you going to create boundaries for your reasons? And I'll give you an example. They got a client. They got somebody that was interested, not 100% committed. They had somebody that was interested and they needed help. So they called a lender to get help. The lender did not have what they needed, so they referred them to somebody else. And then that person didn't help. And then they never talked to anybody else. They said, I couldn't find any help. Could you not find any help, or did you stop looking? Because what I said is like, okay, well, I referred you to so-and-so. That person didn't help you. He referred you to somebody else. That person didn't help you. Well, then I thought I helped you. So if I didn't help you, then what you do is you come back to me and say, hey, I talked to so-and-so, they gave me to so-and-so and it didn't work. I'm still looking for help. Okay, great. Because I have crazy amount of resources for almost anything. And then what happened was I said, well, here, so what I did is, when he said that, I texted this person, a friend of mine, and I said, hey, I have a buyer looking for XYZ. Do you do that? He's like, yes. And then I connected them, solved. So in that part, instead of being willing to do whatever he needed to do, which is continue to contact people until he found the resources he needed, he stopped. And he was like, I can't find any help. So he created a boundary and a reason why he couldn't get any help. Another person, he had a client, another client again, and he's like, I don't know how to do XYZ. And I said, okay, let me connect you with this person to help you. And he's like, nope, I don't like that person. Never worked with this person, just based on the outward appearance of who that person was. He decided he didn't want to work with that person. I said, okay, great. What about this person? He's like, nope, not that person. So what's happening with this person who's never done a deal and trying to find help? He started creating boundaries. Instead of being willing to work with someone that they initially were like, they didn't have a really good reason to not work with the person. They just didn't like that person. They just created a boundary. So at the end of the day, if I'm trying to create a goal for myself and I'm trying to create an outcome, and I know that there's one person that I don't want to work with, but yet that's the resource I have. And my goal is to close this deal, to get this deal closed. What am I willing to do? Am I willing to sacrifice something for myself to help that person to deal with somebody for whatever reason? And I think the reason that person, he said, I didn't like what somebody said in a team meeting. I didn't like what that guy said in a team meeting. That was his reason. So being willing to move past that mindset, because that's what all this is mindset of who that person is or what I think of that person to help another person, that's being willing to do whatever it takes to get that done. And you're gonna run into people throughout your entire career that you're just not gonna wanna deal with. Are you just going to start creating boundaries and say, okay, I don't wanna do that, I don't wanna do that, I don't wanna do that, instead of, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get that done. Does that make sense? So, 3 alarms, that's just being funny. What are you willing to do? Extreme ownership, 25 contacts a day. So you can make reasons or you can make results. What is your goal today? And what I try to express to coaching clients is that pick what your goal is today and go after it with focus and block, and go after it with like insane focus to basically nail what you need to get done. Do you need a listing today? Go through, like, so when I needed a listing one time, I went through my entire database and I went to like the lowest hanging fruit. The person that I thought could possibly give me the most business as quickly as possible. And what happened was, is that I did not get a deal that day, but I connected with the person that I thought it was. And over a 3-year period of time, that person, because of the focus that I had, ended up getting about 5 or 6 listings from that person. And it was just about the focus and going after somebody and creating a goal for myself. So are you hitting your goals on a consistent basis? Do you even have goals for a consistent basis? Does that resonate with anybody? Thoughts? No?
We do both.
You do what, and what do you, when you say we do both, what does that mean?
That's, I am consistent with what some of my clients.
Yep.
With some I am not.
Okay, so what would it look like if you were consistent with all of your clients?
Obviously it's gonna be much better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes I am more comfortable with one client than I have some, I feel some distance, more respect with the other client, so.
So now we're talking feelings, right?
But
So that comes back to what I was saying before. It's like eliminate the feelings. Like we all have feelings. Sometimes we have to deal with, like, I'll give Tracy as an example. We had a client that she had to deal with and the person was not nice. Like hot and cold. You ever get that person that's like hot and cold? Like some days they're nice and they're cool and they're really great. And then other times they're just, you just don't want to deal with them. Like you just don't want to deal with them. And there's been times where Tracy was like, I just want to fire this person. But she put her feelings aside and took away the boundaries, because when you say, well, I don't feel like doing that, or that, you know, I don't feel like I like that person or whatever, that's you creating boundaries around the thing. It comes back to, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to look past how you feel? Right? So if you look past your feelings on that thing, because they may have feelings too, but that's not important. Yeah, and that's not important. Your job is to hit your goal. So look past your feelings and how you think about that. And if you did that, how could that change your business?
obviously. Yeah.
And could your feelings be different than the reality of what they think? Because a lot of times we see things as we see things, we don't see things as they are. And I think that's super powerful, because have you ever connected with somebody and you thought that that person didn't like you, or you didn't like that person when you connected with them, and it was a completely different situation? Like they're like, no, I like you. No, everything's great. Like you connected with somebody, the situation just was not what you thought it was. See, we create stories in our head of what things are supposed to be, when in actuality, it's just a story. And when we look up a name, we're calling people, we look up a name, every person in your database, when you look up a name and you see that name, you have a story in your head about that person. You get to choose what that story looks like. Is it a positive story? Is it an exciting story? Is it a happy story? Is it a bad story? And they have a story on you on the other side. It's probably different. It's probably different. Could be better, could be worse. There's people that I know, when I tell them to do the exercise, to where if you're coaching with me and we're doing accountability coaching every week, and you come in, you sit down and I say, did you hit your 25 contacts a day? And somebody goes, no, I didn't. I let that go for one coaching session. The second coaching session, I go, did you hit your 25 contacts? And they're like, no, I didn't. And then I say, why? And I let them tell me the reasons. And then what I do is I say, okay, we're gonna hit them today. Start making your phone call. I have them make phone calls in front of me. And I literally have them go through their list one by one. They don't skip anybody. And if they go like, I don't want to call that person, I go, why? And then we have this conversation we just had. What's the story around that person that you don't want to call them? And then I cannot tell you how many times this has happened. They'll call that person and their story is different. And you just created a reason inside your head why you just don't want to talk to them, because it's going to make you uncomfortable. It has nothing to do with them. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes.
It reminds me a little bit of the limiting beliefs conversation.
Yep.
Kind of ties into that, where you have these beliefs that you're limited as to what you can do, or you're limited as to who you want to talk to.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, if you really think about this, everything you do and say in your entire day is based on the limiting belief. We all have limiting beliefs. There's limiting beliefs that you put on your entire life and in your entire day and everything that you do. If you were to remove all of that and go out and talk to the world, like, does everybody know who Dwayne Johnson is?
The Rock.
The Rock. Why would you not be able to talk to him? What would be a reason you couldn't talk to him if you wanted to?
He's too important.
It's too important. Absolutely. Anybody else? Why wouldn't you be able to talk to The Rock?
He's like up there.
He's up there. Where are you?
I'm like, I'm on a different ladder.
Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody feel that kind of same thing? Right? Give me another reason though. I mean, it's The Rock. Why wouldn't you be able to talk to him?
I'm thinking because he's so good looking. Nobody will say that.
You can say that. It's your opinion.
He probably has tons of realtors.
He probably has tons of realtors. That's an amazing objection. So I have a story. I was in a mastermind group with these guys. It was like, I'm pretty sure this is my limiting beliefs. I'm pretty sure in this group, I was probably the lowest net worth individual out of this entire group. And these guys were like making tens of millions of dollars. I no clue how I got in this group, but I was in this group and we masterminded and we talked all the time. And so they taught me a lot of social media strategies that they use. And one of the social media strategies was like, you have to create a list of 25 people that you want to do business with. It doesn't matter who they are. They can be major celebrities. They could be biggest people that you could ever think, anybody. You put them on your list and then you go after them a certain way. And so one of these guys in this group, I think he was worth like $5 million. His wife was a part of this group and she did some business. I don't remember what the business was, but she's like, I'm going to go after The Rock. And everybody in the group made fun of her. It was a joke. I'm going to go after, you're going to go after The Rock. Good luck with that. Right? So what she would do is, I think it's his Instagram. It was either his Instagram or his TikTok. I don't remember which one. But what she would do is she would message him and then record a video with her and her kids dancing and send it to him every week. Every week. Video, kids dancing, little message. Video, every week, consistently. And the guy was like, it just became like a thing we would do. Like every week, it was just normal. Like we would just do that. There was no expectation of a result, but she consistently, for like, if I'm not mistaken, like 3 years. Video of kids dancing, message. And guess what? He responded. He responded and said, hey, I'm really enjoying these videos that you're sending of you and the kids and blah, 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 blah. And started creating a dialogue with them. And then I think 6 months later, she's in business with him. So there's a saying that I heard the other day. It's like, if you quit, it's guaranteed you're going to fail. If you don't quit, you have a chance to actually succeed. And so she got a mindset, removed her limiting belief of who she could talk to. The Rock has like probably, he is in the top 5 or top 10 of the most followers on social media, has one of the biggest tequila brand in the world. Like there are so many reasons why you don't think that you should be able to talk to that person. He already has realtors. He's very attractive. He's a big celebrity. He's way up here. And so what you're doing is you're telling a story on how you are minimizing your place in life versus who that person is. If you ever watch anything, he has no aspirations on who he is. He knows exactly who he is, but he's also very humble and he also does really nice things. He's also seems like a very good person and he talks to people. So if you have consistency in behavior and you're authentic, and that's what that person did, they consistently messaged that person. And it was funny because in the mastermind group, they were like, hey, is your wife still trying to contact The Rock? Ha, 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 ha. He's like, yeah, he responded. And everybody in the group, shut the fuck up. Like, they were like, what? They're like, oh yeah, they told the story. And now it's like a legend. Now it's a legend in this group. Because what she did something everybody that, I mean, now keep in mind, these guys are making $5, $10, $15 million a year. They all had a limiting belief and they could have probably had a better shot at talking to him than she did. They just removed those boundaries. So you have to think, what boundaries am I holding in place that's stopping me from hitting the goals that I want to hit? I have a guy right now that I'm working with. He's doing 10 contacts a day. I'm trying to get him to do 25 in a different way, but he's doing 10 because that's easy. It's easy, it's comfortable. And getting out of the comfort zone is probably the hardest thing to do, but it is the most productive thing you can do for your business. What can you do today to make yourself uncomfortable? I used to call expired leads and I would do them on Sunday because I know most realtors aren't going to do that. And I could probably catch people at home on Sunday. But I hated, I was really, really good at it. But I hated it with the white hot passion of 1,000 suns. I hated it. But I needed business. So I was going after it. And this is what I would do. If I got an appointment, I could stop for the day on Sunday. Like if I could get a listing appointment, I'm done. I can't stop until I get a listing appointment. So I would do that. And it was like a reward. So I would reward myself with not doing any more today if I could get an appointment. So it actually gave me a lot of motivation to actually get it done. And I just removed all the limiting beliefs because I'm like, I got to make this happen. And I just put my blinders on, picked up the phone and started making phone calls. I would recommend reading this book, Extreme Ownership. It's a really, really good book. It takes you to basically take possession of your actions and everything that you think. And the audiobook is great because the Jocko Willink and the other guy read it. And if you ever had an aspiration of what you think a Navy SEAL would sound like, that's what he sounds like. All right, yeah, this is what we do. Like, he's got a really cool voice. He's also got a lot of stuff on YouTube. It's really cool to watch. What do you guys, questions, thoughts? What do you guys think? No?
Right?
I'm taking notes, so I'm adding notes.
What do you think, Yaka?
I think it's all good.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
very good
who
question.
can do 25 contacts today?
I can try to call. I could try,
You could do it.
I can do it.
Whenever you say I try is just putting, in my opinion,
It's not.
I mean, you're giving yourself a reason to not do it if you say I'm gonna try. You say I'm gonna do it. And then if you, let's say you don't do it, because I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, like, if you say you do it, it's gonna actually happen. Things might happen, life happens. So if you go to do something and you don't do it, you figure out, you bump into an obstacle, you figure out what that obstacle is, and then you attack it again in a different way to get past that obstacle. Because every time, failure is not failing. Failing is part of the process of being successful. You have to fail. And if the failure is, I don't want to pick up the phone today. Okay. What do you got to do to pick up the phone? I don't feel good today. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm whatever. Like, create the thing. There's a way to get around that. If you emotionally have issues, like, the best way to fix yourself emotionally is to go help somebody else. Go help somebody else feel the way you want to feel, and that you will literally pull yourself out of it. If you do that enough, you will feel better. Yes.
I had somebody say to me one time when I was fighting myself, trying to make myself do what I need to do, is they said that it doesn't matter what you think, feel, or believe, it's the action you take. And so I can talk myself out of it, feel one way or another really easily.
Yep,
But if you set all that aside and you just take the action,
yep,
then you'll get there.
yep. I mean, you know what? It's really easy to talk myself into eating ice cream. It's ice cream, right? It's really hard to talk myself into going to the gym sometimes. Even though I go to the gym like somewhere between 5 and 7 days a week, depends. There's days I don't want to go. I do not want to go. The other day I did not want to go. I did not feel like going. I was having a bad day. I was just like, I do not want to go. But I knew if I went, I would feel better. I did not feel better afterward as much as I wanted to, but it did make me feel better than before I went. And that's because you like accomplished something super hard. So you have to understand that it's all mindset. Your feelings are probably one of the number one things that your feelings wreck you more than anything else in your life. It's statistically proven that the person who controls their emotions the best is the most successful. So when you say, I don't feel like doing something, you should probably do the opposite of that. I don't feel like making phone calls today. Then you probably should make phone calls. Because guess what? You just did something that your body said you didn't want to do. Your mind said you didn't want to do, and you know that's what's best for you and your business. So I would challenge everybody, 25 contacts a day. Just, have the conversations that I tell you to have, which is basically you call and check in with people. You don't have to ask them about buying or selling real estate. Just call and find out where people are in the process. And people are going to fall in the process and fall out of process all the time. I was just talking to Tracy this morning. We had a guy that was going to sell his house. He was putting on an ADU and he was going to buy another house. So it's like 2 transactions. And he messaged this morning and said, I'm building the ADU, but I'm not moving. I'm staying where I'm at. Okay. Bummer. But all that did was change the conversation we're going to have, or Tracy's going to have the next time she calls them. Instead of saying, how's the ADU coming along? What's your time frame for putting your house on the market? It's going to be just to check in. Hey, last time I talked to you, you were staying. How, are you doing good? Like, what's going on? What are you doing for the holiday? It turned back into a check-in conversation instead of a buy and sell conversation. And we don't know exactly why he made that change. So everybody's in a process. So now the goal is to figure out why he made that decision, where he's at in the process, and to be there when he's ready to make that change again. So when you call 25 people, where are they at in the process? Are they ready to do something, or do they know somebody that's ready to do something? That's all you have to do. If you do enough of these, and I can tell you this right now, almost unequivocally, without a doubt, the numbers are going to come out at the end of this month, but I would tell you that 90% of the real estate industry is not doing what they need to do, which is calling their people to figure out where they're at in the process right now. That's based on numbers, I think 4.9 million homes sold last year. And there's only 1 or 2 other years that it was lower than that.
In the United States?
In the United States, 4.9 million. So, and the last statistic last year was that like 93% of agents were doing 1 or 0 transactions last year. Did you guys hear that statistic?
40, yeah, you said it
Was it 94?
or 46, I did, 49.
No, it was like 90 was like 5 or 0, but there was like 93 or 94% of agents did 1 or 0 transactions last year.
94%.
It's something like that. It's in the 90s. There's a 9 attached to that number for sure. Huh?
How is it surviving? It's
They're not. They're going to be out of the business. They're going to be out of the business.
It's really different than the 80-20.
It is.
20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business.
Yeah.
But that's even more extreme, what you're saying.
It is way more extreme. And last year, January, at the end of the year, 60,000 agents got out of the business.
60,000.
60,000. Now, keep in mind, there's 1.5 million. But if 90% of the agents are doing 1 or 0 transactions, like that means 150,000 agents are doing all the business, mostly all the business. So that's why I'm saying is like, when I'm telling you to make 25 contacts a day, most of, and like major most of, are not doing anything at all. They're expecting to get handed fish. Because the real estate industry, the average sale in this office is between 1 million and 1.5 million, which is right around $30,000 commission check. When people see that number, they get excited. I'm gonna make that, I'm gonna make that. Because like what's $20 an hour? Full-time job, $20 an hour, full-time job, I think is 40 grand a year. So you have to sell 1.5 homes to make more than that a year. It's super attractive. That's why people get into real estate. If I have one more agent tell me I want to be like selling on Sunset, I swear to God. I've heard that twice. I'm like, no, that's some of them aren't even licensed. Some of them sell like one house. No, stop it. Stop.
What do they mean they want to sell?
They see that. Have you seen the TV show Selling Like Sunset?
Oh, it's a show.
Yeah, I know. And I say, listen, if you want to be like a show, $1 million listing is better, but that's still made up. There's still made up parts of that. But those guys on $1 million listing, their numbers are real. So I look them up. I know a couple of them, but the Selling Sunset, no, stop it. It's not real. Yeah, 2 people told me that. Questions or thoughts before we wrap everything up? How was this? Good stuff? Was it helpful?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's play the last video and then we'll wrap this up.
What gets you out of bed? What gets you off the couch? What gets you in the gym? It's not your alarm. It's not your parents. It's not your friends. It's you. The only one that can make it happen for you is you.
It's really hard to be led by your butt. But I'm not qualified, but I'm not good enough, but I'm not smart enough, but I didn't go to the right school, but I don't have enough money, but, if you're ever gonna step into your future, if you're ever gonna step into your destiny, you're gonna have to get over your butt.
And that's what pity party is when you have an undisciplined mind and you been taking the wrong thing over and over and over again. If you want to throw a pity party, I'll give you 3 days and that's it. And after 3 days, you cut up your record player, your iPod, your MP3, and you come up with a plan.
Do I just sit there and settle? No, I don't. I say enough's enough, man, and I'm gonna make a change, and I'm gonna keep going until I get it. You chase something that you believe you deserve until you get it, and it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many times you get fired. It doesn't matter how many people don't believe in you. Just go until you get it. That's the point. Are you tired yet? Some of you need to get tired. You need to be tired of what's going on in your life. Get tired of your habits. Get tired of the actions that you're putting in every day. You gotta change, man, or nothing changes. I woke up one day and stopped making excuses. I woke up one day and stopped playing the playing game. I woke up one day and looked at the man in the mirror and was like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Wake up. It's showtime. Let's go. Get up. Go to class. Get up. Do your homework. You wake up early. You stay late. You stay up. You work hard. Team so it's bad about the so soon. What's like for you? That's easy. You should not have to do your homework because we don't know that about yourself. You let me exactly what you want. Because every day, you take choices to make. You're responsible and accountable for every single choice. You made your choices. And what I think you need for me is why you here and then take ownership of why you here. So you control you. That's why they don't give you what you deserve. It's why they give you what you work for. I put that work in every single day. When you wake up every single day, you put that work in, and that's what goes on. It might be harder than others, man, whatever. We do what it is we gotta do. Especially when we're desperate. When it's not what it's you, it doesn't care about you. When it doesn't care how slow you are, when it doesn't care how much sleep you get, it doesn't care how hard you work at times. When it requires more, the time is to nothing. It's a mastermind approach to the job you're lying. It causes setback after setback. So the question is, how do you understand what this is so wrong? You want to change this the whole way. Because the only thing that's going to keep away, you go chasing this solution. Now is the time of life. Now is the time to change the world. Now is the point to your works. You can't fight the works. Instead, it's just work. And now, guys.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.